What's up, everybody? We are getting closer and closer to kickoff. Week one is under 3 weeks away. Week zero, Farmageddon in Ireland, is less than 2 weeks away. We have a lot of previews to still get through on this program, on this podcast, this YouTube show, whatever you want to call us at this point. We are College Football Tailgate. I'm Dan Watkins, joined always by John McKechnie. John, all the polls are out at this point. Like, we are just like lock, stock, and barrel, ready to go. Like, let's just get to the season already.
Oh, I feel you there. All these camp battles are unfolding. We're starting to see some guys, some quarterback battles. Ty Simpson getting named quarterback, and you mentioned it. I think maybe in our first show about the ACC that the Bama transfer Dylan Lonergan had a chance to win the job up at BC. That has come to pass as of Tuesday morning. So yeah, we're starting to see things solidify in the polls. Obviously, another kind of like signpost that we are deliciously close to week zero here.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned the poll right there. So I know you are going to be putting together a very lovely TikTok for us on our TikTok channel. At CFB Tailgate is where you could find us. Please go check it out. Drop us a subscription. You can leave John an angry comment about his takes, not so much his TikTok prowess as he gets going on TikTok. He is one TikTok in the books, folks,
Hey,
as he keeps going here. But yeah, so we're gonna talk. You're gonna do a full like little breakdown for us on your AP poll thoughts and all that. But I thought we'd touch on a few things here to start this show today. The most notable one for me, John, is that Clemson has jumped up above Georgia and Notre Dame when it comes to the writers compared to the coaches who have them a little lower.
yes. So the 4-5-6 cluster is the same in the sense that it's the same three teams, but the order is different in the AP poll with Clemson, like you said, jumping up. So whereas it felt like earlier this offseason, Clemson was like, oh, look out, they could be better this year. That there's no. Not to say that Clemson would be sneaking up on anyone. I don't think that's like a possibility for a program of that status at this stage. But you're opening the season inside the top five now. Like there's no like, oh shucks, you made the college football playoff type of thing. Like you're kind of expected to be one of the best teams. You're supposed to be there for the semifinals at the very least. You're supposed to take care of business. In the ACC, you get a big test opening weekend against LSU. You get to get some revenge potentially against South Carolina to end the season. So it's all there. We talked a lot about this Clemson team during our ACC preview, and now it seems like the expectations have kind of caught up, or the hype and the expectations have kind of interjoined here, and we're seeing them open inside the top five in the AP polls. So that's the cat's out of the bag, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. So another one here that just jumps out quickly before I have a question I just want to pose to everybody is that I originally thought, so I did my coaches poll reaction a week ago. You guys can go check that out on any of our social media channels. As I mentioned, CFB Tailgate on TikTok, College Football Tailgate on YouTube here. I originally thought, John, that the coaches would have Penn State higher than Ohio State too. The writers do. They have Penn State at two, just with all this hype going on in Happy Valley this season, very similar to Clemson. Both of these schools, just the hype train is well on its way. It's left the station. But the writers have Penn State a little higher here, where the coaches gave the nod to the defending national champs.
Yeah, so I tend to lean with probably like the coaches. Like I think that at least coming into the season, you're the champs until proven otherwise. So I would have them ahead of Penn State in my personal rankings. But my expectations this year are, kind of like we talked about in part one. I think Penn State has a very legit chance at winning the national championship this year, but that we know the cast of characters a little bit better when it comes to Penn State this year than we do teams like Texas and like Ohio State that, on talent, on what we have as far as like recruiting rankings and concern are concerned, it's all right there for the talent level. But I think we know a little bit more about this group at Penn State, and we think that we could, or I think they could certainly take that step forward. So I think initially coaches get it right as far as where they have these two teams, but I think end of the season Penn State ahead of Ohio State.
All right. So I think an interesting way to look at these top 10 when it comes to both the AP and the coaches poll, it's the same 10 in each group here, from each group, excuse me. Who do you think is going to like finish unranked? Who's going to crater this season? Give me some teams that you think that are, have a lot of hype and getting a lot of respect here coming into the fall, where when we look back on this in the winter, they're going to be nowhere near that top 10.
Well, I feel like I'm like one infinity stone away from like dubbing myself as the Oregon hater, and I think I'm gonna put that in the glove right here. I'm thinking that Oregon among these teams in the top 10 is the one that I'm circling as the one the likeliest to finish unranked this season. I think that it's a tough schedule, and again, I just think that they take a step back too much to replace both on offense and defense. So I think that Oregon loses at least 3 games. I think it could get as bad as an 8-4 regular season for the Ducks. It's sort of hackneyed almost to say this team is the fraud of this group, but I do think that Miami is that one that is in the top 10. I'm not really buying it. I could see them, not only losing those coin flip games, but also maybe dropping one or two that you wouldn't expect. So we'll believe it when we see it. And when it comes to Mario Cristobal in this group, one that's a little bit spicy. I don't even know if I wholeheartedly believe it, and I think I could probably be accused of being a paranoid fan. This could get out of hand for Georgia, though. You think about
Oh,
this. You think about the schedule.
yep.
You have Alabama. You
All those big
have
games at home, though. All those big games are between the hedges this year.
This is true. They have not lost at home since 2019, I think, against South Carolina. So that is something to consider. I could see them at best going 2-1 in those three tough games at home between Bama, Ole Miss, and Texas. I think that Florida game, if DJ Lagway is as advertised, that's tough. The SEC opener early on in the season up at Rocky Top against Tennessee. I know a lot of people are kind of sleeping on Tennessee this year. But Georgia's breaking in a new quarterback in Gunnar Stockton. The returns did not look amazing last year. I think Georgia's going to have to run the ball a little bit more this year. And I don't think that they have a great stable of running backs necessarily. And I don't think the offensive line is necessarily up to par with what we've seen in recent years. Defense should still be really good. But I think that there's a chance that, with the way that the schedule sets up, gets a little bit rocky for Georgia here.
Yeah, so we'll do our full breakdown of the SEC coming up in the next few weeks here. But for me, the team I can see falling out of that top 10, I mean, is the team that's at number 10, and that's Miami. We went into this like way in depth in the ACC preview, but basically still, I feel the exact same way. With Mario Cristobal's squad is I can't trust that defense until I actually see it. Yes, I think the line will be a lot better, but that secondary I think will still be a little shaky. And that schedule is going to be tough, especially towards that back end there where they have to go to some cold weather spots. Could be a little interesting there for those kids from South Beach. So I could see Miami falling out there just because of that defense. But it's one of those like, just prove me wrong, Mario. Prove me wrong. All right. So this is a Big Ten show. We kind of talked about Penn State and Ohio State there a little bit. Let's really get into these teams now. Let's start talking about the Buckeyes. They're the defending national champions. 10.5 is their win total. The over, surprisingly, John, is plus 138 on FanDuel. That's the best price you can find there with that. The under, minus 135 on MGM. They are first or second in the national championship odds, depending on the book. Some books even have them tied with Texas, excuse me. So obviously a lot of hype going on here with the defending national champs. People aren't expecting that big drop off year to year like we were expecting and saw with Michigan a year ago. Julian Sayin sounds like he's going to be the starting quarterback. There is maybe a little bit of a battle still going on there with the other kid, but a lot of changes in Columbus. How do you view this team going into 2025?
I just think until we see otherwise, we got to believe in what they're cooking up in Columbus. I mean, you have I think Dollar Stradon's the best player in college football, and Jeremiah Smith, and
Oh my
now
God, yeah.
he's a receiver.
Is he
Obvious.
human? Is he human? Like, I don't think is that proven that he's human?
It basically it's like you get 2004 Terrell Owens as a freshman in college. Like that's not
Yeah.
fair. That you can't do that, but they found a way. to do that, and apparently he's like gotten even bigger and stronger and faster this off season, putting up GPS numbers in practice that should not be possible by the boundaries of physics, but here we are. Saying I think it. I think if you're an Ohio State fan, you just fear that this is like a Kyle McCord type of season where you get the expectations and everything. He's had some time within the system, but it ultimately just never really clicks the way that you want it to and you need it to, and ultimately you end up disappointed. So this is it. I'm going to choose to believe that Julian Sand can kind of captain this ship, and that like there's just so much talent around him that you can't really screw it up that badly. Now they do have to play Penn State, they do have to play Michigan, they have to play Michigan on the road. They haven't beaten Michigan in forever, so that's kind of like the big thing that they are circling going into this year as well. But as it stands, that Ohio State's still kind of like the class of the Big Ten, and I think that it's hard to see them losing more than one game in the regular season.
So I'm glad you brought up Kyle McCord. I think that's a really good comparison to draw on when it comes to Sayan's expectations. And something that McCord had that Sayan will have this year too is Brian Hartline as the offensive coordinator. Hartline's getting his second chance. He's getting kind of a redo here this year when it comes to the OC position. I think a couple of years ago, like Ohio State dropped out of like the top 30 when it come to offensive production, at least according to the S&P Plus, according to Bill Connolly's system there. So Ryan Day, after that season, he goes out and he brings in Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly now leaves after winning a national championship, and Hartline's getting that do-over here. I think that's something that's going to be fascinating this year, John, with this quarterback that's a freshman and all that hype that was around him, only to have Will Howard come in and take the job from him a year ago. Definitely something to keep an eye on. The other side of the ball, too, Matt Patricia is the defensive coordinator here for Ohio State this season. That makes me, as someone who is a Patriots fan, very scared for Ohio State that you're going to give up a lot of yards. So maybe target some guys in DFS and fantasy against the Buckeyes this season. I mean, yes, they lost a ton of draft choices too on that defensive side of the ball, but a few other things, though, that I do think are very interesting about Ohio State. And as you mentioned, kind of just the trust what they're cooking, trust the process, if you will. We got that 10.5 win total. Ryan Day, since becoming the full-time head coach, as long as it's a full season, right? So take out the COVID year, he's had 11 wins or more in every single regular season. So really interesting there with Ryan Day's squad up there at Ohio State, where if you could think that they can get to that win total or not.
Yeah, I'm choosing to believe, but yeah, I think you do bring up some legitimate concerns. It's hard to stay on top, especially when you have other programs that are working towards that same goal with very similar resources. You talk about Penn State, of course, but you look at Texas or Clemson or Georgia, even though I was just kind of trashing them a little bit. It's gonna be tough for Ohio State to repeat, but got to believe that there's at least a chance here with them, and that's why we're seeing them first or second in those national championship odds.
Yeah, so let's just quickly pull up the FanDuel odds here. Ohio State, as you can see, is the favorite to win the Big Ten at plus 190. Penn State right behind them there. When it comes to their schedule, let's pull up the Ohio State schedule here. As you can see, number one versus number two, Ohio State welcomes Texas in week one Saturday, big noon. That is just awesome. First time ever, number one and number two are playing each other in week one. I believe it's the first time ever that Texas is ranked number one heading into the season, and the first time ever that number one is an underdog in week one. So a lot of cool stuff there with that game. As you can see, as we go throughout, they have to go to the West Coast to play Washington. They have a bye before that game. They got Minnesota at home. Interesting stretch there in October, right? We got at Illinois, at Wisconsin, then they get a bye before they welcome in Penn State for what's probably going to be a big noon game. I highly doubt Fox is going to let that game go. And then we go through and we finish off at Michigan. So 10.5, John, do you have a strong lean either way when it comes to the Buckeyes?
My lean is to take the over, but I kind of like hate betting those totals that are that high. But I do think in my heart of hearts, in my brain of brains, that Ohio State goes 11-1 or better in the regular season.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where it's you just almost have to trust whatever Ryan Day is doing until he doesn't. do it. It's like the opposite of the Mario Cristobal thing,
Yeah.
right? Like you just have to give Ryan Day, I think, the benefit of the doubt because the dude has like an 88% winning percentage at Ohio State as the head coach, which is just absolutely ridiculous. But something else to know there, if you are thinking about taking an Ohio State Big Ten ticket, they haven't won the conference in 5 years, which is just wild to think about with all the success that Ohio State's had the past few years.
Yeah, it's been the Michigan show and then Oregon last year.
Yep.
So that is kind of it is crazy that they're probably just I think they're ready to get back on top most likely. Again, I got to keep reiterating. I think Penn State's gonna do it this year, but I don't know if they're gonna necessarily win the Big Ten outright. I'm just kind of like betting on them once we get to the college football playoff.
So let's move on and let's talk about the team that Ohio State has failed to beat the last 4 years, the Michigan Wolverines. It's year two for Sharon Moore. Obviously, there was that big time hangover a year ago coming off that national championship win. You got the exit of Harbaugh, all those NFL draft picks as well. They've kind of retooled and reset here. They bring in the number one recruit in the country in Bryce Underwood. Going to see a lot of him this season, I would expect. I don't think they've full out named him the starter yet, but it sounds like it's heading that way. I know they brought in Mikey Keene as a transfer as well. John, I'm just looking at this schedule here. We got this 8.5 win total. It's heavily juiced to the over, depending on what book you're looking at. This might be the easiest schedule in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. For you got to feel good about the plucky underdog Michigan Wolverines with the $10 million man at quarterback, getting a softie of a schedule. But here we are. When it comes to Michigan, I can't really figure out how I feel about this Michigan team this year. I think a lot of it, not to like kind of like back out of this or anything, but it's like it does kind of come down to what Bryce Underwood can do. Is he as good as advertised, and is he as good as advertised right away? I mean, last year
Mhm.
the forward pass didn't exist basically. Like that Michigan was I don't know about you, but like from a watchability perspective,
Oh,
like
it's horrible.
I didn't want to watch Michigan. By the time that like October rolled around, I'm like I'm not interested. I don't want to see this. What I'm sure that
Yep.
they'll probably win like 17-14. I don't care. I don't want to see it. So I think Underwood should make them a decent bit more watchable. They get Justice Haynes at running back from Alabama. That's interesting as well. I think that defense is going to be pretty nasty. That's one of those things that we can kind of set our watch to when it comes to the Wolverines. So I think 9 wins is totally feasible. I think that's that hence why the juice is so heavy there. I can't go any further than that though. I wouldn't take this up to like over 9.5 or anything like that. I think that there's still a little bit too much to be determined when it comes to this team to where I'm going to be confidently taking them to win 10 games.
Yeah, it's just like one of the, I just can't fully trust a true freshman, no matter how good he might be, to elevate them to that point where I think that they're going to get back to competing for the conference championship, and maybe even competing for a playoff spot here. I think Michigan stock is definitely pointing back up after that small dip in 2024, but I'm with you that I just can't quite buy them as like a full-on contender this season. But they should have quarterback play, something that they just didn't have a year ago. But then again, John, does it even matter? Because they've beaten Ohio State any way you want to beat them 4 straight years now. And I, for one, who have bet the Buckeyes in that game the past few years, I'm staying away. Like, this is my note to my future self in 3, 4 months from now. Do not bet that game. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Watch it. Don't put any money on it.
Yeah, what I do is like I try to like order a shock collar for myself around bowl season and for me like the team has been Houston. Like I always like Houston. They always blow it in the bowl game, and like I have a shock collar to like remind myself to not bet on Houston in a bowl game. So we need to get you one of those for the game in November.
Yeah, I mean, with Houston, I think you could just put that for like football at no matter what level because they just fall apart. Doesn't matter. Pro, college. I mean, I'm sure I don't know too much about high school football down there, but I'm sure there's some teams or schools in Houston that probably don't live up to expectations at the end there, just with how things have gone at higher levels. All right, so final note on Michigan, over 60% of returning production on both sides of the ball. This defense is going to be very good. So they're going to be in a lot of games. But we'll see what this offense does if they can take that next step forward there as we head into 2025. So, one of the teams that I think is really fascinating heading into this season is the team that a lot of people are dubbing this year's Indiana, and that's the Illinois Fighting Illini Bielema squad. Can't say that. There we go. Uh, Win total sitting at, I believe, 7.5. It's heavily juiced to the over. I think there's some 8.5s there as well with the Illini. A ton of production coming back, notably Altmaier at quarterback. I mean, they have some great pieces on defense. You look at this schedule. No Penn State, no Michigan, no Oregon. They get the Buckeyes at home, but it will be their seventh straight game at that point. What do you make of the Illini? I know you've been waiting to talk about this one here for a few weeks since we started doing these shows.
Yeah, I mean, we see that the hype is fully baked in. They're top 12 in both polls, or they're ranked number 12 in both polls. So that's a pretty ringing endorsement from all the college football intelligentsia that the hype is for real when it comes to these guys, and it makes a ton of sense. You have a really strong season last year, not necessarily out of nowhere, but I don't think that people quite expected it to go as well as it did, and now you have a schedule that the parallels are very similar to Indiana in that sense, where yes, you have to play Ohio State, but other than that, you're kind of dodging the big dogs within the rest of the Big Ten. And I just feel like Illinois has really embodied the Brett Bielema style. Even a couple of years ago, they really gave Michigan a serious run for their money up in Ann Arbor. They're just a tough team, and they really just kind of embody that. So I think that Altmaier, I love an experienced quarterback. I think that's sort of like the tiebreaker a lot of times in today's college football. Like you have someone that has started a zillion games, like in Altmaier's case, versus someone like a Bryce Underwood who's just making his first year of starting, or Julian saying their first year of starting. They may be more talented, but those reps I think are important at this level. So I think Altmaier's going to be able to kind of captain this ship. I think they got a tough defense, we talked about it, that Illinois Indiana is like the big, like, kind of undercard game of the entire Big Ten schedule this year, and that comes pretty early. I think it's the Big Ten opener for both of those teams. So however that one shakes out, I think is going to kind of determine that next class of squads in the Big Ten. And I do give my lean to Illinois. I am drinking the Kool-Aid on them.
That'd be a big road win if they can pull that off. September 20th, week 4 is the date for that one. So you mentioned Altmaier is back. According to both Bill Connolly and Phil Steele, this team is returning the most production in the entire conference. The quarterback, as we talked about there, the entire offensive line. We know Bielema always has a great O-line. This team, I think, is going to be able to impose its will on the non-Ohio states, I think, on its schedule this season. We got 2 huge road games in the month of September. Indiana, as we mentioned. You talked about in our ACC preview that week 2 game at Duke is a sneaky big one there, September 6th. So that's another one to watch there. But by the time that Illinois does get to that Ohio State game, yes, they get them at home, but they will have played 7 straight games, no byes to start the season. So just a little interesting scheduling note there when it comes to the Illini. I definitely like that over 7.5. I mean, I would probably even take this up to 8.5 here at this point, just because I think this schedule sets up really nicely, even in the back half. And I'll pull this up here for us too. Let me just find this because but their 2 buys are like after the middle of October. So I really think that they're going to be able to get some more production and get the job done here in the second half. But let's pull up this Illinois schedule for everybody. Any takeaways when it comes to this schedule other than what we've already really talked about?
Like you're saying, that Duke non-con game is pretty interesting, but yeah, the second half of the schedule, like Washington really feels like the only potential toss-up, and Washington kind of a
And they have a bye
volatile.
before that. Yeah.
Exactly. So that really helps. But Rutgers, Maryland, and who knows if Wisconsin's even going to be fielding a team by the time the November 22nd rolls
We'll get
around.
to
Well,
them in a little bit.
yeah, it's folks, feeling bad for my old Badger pals, and then Northwestern to ice it. So I think we could run into a situation here with Illinois where maybe they drop 2 of those games against Indiana, USC, or Ohio State, they could theoretically lose two of those games and then just roll the rest of the way. So I'm a believer in that, and yeah, I'm a Belima or Bielema believer. Yeah,
There you go. All right, I like that. Maybe we'll work on that a little bit as we get as we get going through
yeah.
the season.
Oof.
Uh, but anyways, I want to talk about next what I think might be the most disrespectful win total in this entire conference, and that's the Iowa Hawkeyes sitting at 6.5 right now. John, Kirk Ferentz hasn't won less than 8 games in a non-COVID season since 2014. The offense might be even better this year. Now, the 6.5 is heavily juiced. There are some 7.5s out there now, but I don't know. You were talking about Iowa being a potential dark horse here in this conference. I just think this is a very disrespectful win total for a program that one always plays top-notch defense and doesn't have Ohio State or Michigan on their schedule.
Yeah, I just think that Iowa's a team that you can set through your watch to in a sense like that they are going to win a lot of those coin flip games. They are going to be more physical than say like the West Coast Big Ten teams that they'll be facing this season. I think they have a chance to beat Indiana a little bit later on. I think they have a chance to beat Oregon. It's a team that's going to be that has over the course of the test of time, like they've really stood up to it in the sense that they are just able to win those close, ugly games. And I think that this year, and I know that this is like as dangerous of an opinion as you could have. I think
Let me
Iowa
have it.
might have a real offense this year.
Whoa.
I know, right? Like I'm buying into this Mark Gronowski kid, South Dakota State quarterback, a guy that can run and throw. They haven't had a mobile quarterback, and I don't know how long this century have they had one. I'm not totally sure, but
Could
this
Ricky Stanzi move a little bit? Could he scoot? I can't really remember at this point.
he was
That's like
like
the
he could like scramble for a first down type of guy, but Gronowski put up some legit rushing production as a jackrabbit. I think that we could see him push for like 3,000 ish total yards, like 2,500 passing, 500 rushing, maybe like 25 total touchdowns combined there. And we're talking about all this, and then Iowa plays the defense that we're kind of used to seeing from them. That's a team that wins 9 games, I think, at least.
Yeah, I agree with you. So last year, Kirk Ferentz got rid of his son as offensive coordinator. He brings in Tim Lester, and Iowa's offense improved 100 yards more per game than they did in 2023. A lot of people are expecting another jump this season. One thing to note when it comes to the Hawkeyes is that last year they were 1-3 in one score games. So that's going to have to change this season if they want to get to that 8 or 9 wins there. But yeah, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid when it comes to the Hawkeyes as well. I like a lot of the things that are going on here. When you look at their schedule, their biggest games, right? When you get Penn State and Oregon, uh, Indiana, all at home. Now they have to go out to play Iowa State on the road early on in the season, but they get those big conference games at home here. I do think they're going to be able to get to 8 wins.
Boy, that's good. Iowa State ranked, to coming into this year, they're 22 in the AP poll like that.
Shout out Matt Campbell.
Yeah, man, that's going to be one of the best, Cyhawk games as far as like high stakes are concerned in a little bit. And obviously, Iowa State going to be playing in week 0 as well, so we'll get a little glimpse of them. But I'm excited about this Iowa team. As crazy as that sounds, I think that having a legit dual threat quarterback could be a bit of a game changer for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. And one other thing there too, their defense, like by their standards, was actually a little off last season. They were allowing a few more big plays than they typically do. I would have to trust Kirk Ferentz is going to get that dialed in this season as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that the entire offseason they have been paying for that with mat drills and these fall camp practices, getting them ready to go and play legit Iowa defense.
So that brings us to our next team, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And John, like for the first time that we've been doing these previews, this is the first team that I like truly have zero feel on, like whatsoever. Like I'm looking at this team. A lot of people really like this freshman quarterback or redshirt freshman quarterback in Drake Lindsay, but it would not if you told me Minnesota is going to go 5-7, wouldn't be shocked. If you told me they were going to go 9-3, wouldn't be shocked. what's your takeaway when it comes to the Golden Gophers? Because I don't know. I feel like this team is like the true wild card in this conference.
Well, I wish you didn't feel that way because I was going to say that there's no team that is a bigger like blind spot to me than this Minnesota
Good.
program. I think not just in the Big Ten, but like generally. Like I don't know what's going up or going on down there in Dinkytown. Like I just simply don't get it. They just seem to be solid enough to never be like this train wreck, but they're never gonna like beat the harder teams on their schedule. Like they're never gonna be like a 10-point dog and find a way to upset whomever it may be. So, 7.5. My lean is the under. I think that they probably win just like 7 games. I do like Darius Taylor, the running back. I think he's one of the better running backs in college football. But the rest of it is a very milk toast program to me. I don't think that there's a ton standing out. I think that PJ Fleck, he is who he is at this point. Minnesota just kind of is who they are at this stage. So I just feel like I'll take the under there because I stopped short of being like 8-4 levels of optimistic about the Gophers.
Yeah, the only thing I know about PJ Fleck is that if he does get his team to a bowl game, back them. 6-0 in bowls as a head coach here at Minnesota.
That's a good sack, getting the boys ready to play in a meaningless game. Good for him.
Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, I think Minnesota really is like the team that I think has like the biggest range of outcomes this year. Like anywhere from like 4 to 8 or 9, I feel like they could slot in, no problem.
Do we perchance have their schedule handy?
Yep. You want me to pull it up for everybody?
I do. Let's
Okay,
run through it
let's.
quickly and kind of give the audience a full grasp of what we're feeling with this
So
Minnesota team.
the September is a little interesting, right? So they open up with Buffalo and Northwestern State. Then they have to go to Cal. After that, they get a bye week. They play Rutgers. You got Ohio State in there on the road. So they do have 5 Big Ten home games this season, John, but the like tough ones, like the real one, like they have 3 really, really tough road conference games. That's at Ohio State, at Iowa, and at Oregon.
I see them. Yeah, I think that they'll make some hay in September. Like they could be one of those teams that is ranked 22nd going into October. Then you lose by 40 points to Ohio State. You drop out of the rankings. You take out your frustrations on Purdue, and then you lose your next 4 games, and the season just kind of gets away from you at that point, and you're just kind of steeling yourself for the battle for the axe against Wisconsin to end the season.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting there. I'm just completely staying away. I don't have a strong lean in either direction, as I mentioned when we started talking about this program. I don't know what to do with them. I really don't.
Well, let's move on.
Okay, good idea. Let's move on. Let's talk about Wisconsin. You were kind of hinting at a few moments ago there. Wisco's win total here is sitting at 5.5, which just like that just feels sad when it comes to the Badgers. We got the over is at plus 140, the under minus 150. They closed out the season last year with 5 straight losses. I mean, that schedule really cranked up and got brutal towards the end there. And the schedule makers doing them no favors when it comes to this season either. I mean, they have to go to Tuscaloosa to finish off that home and home, which I don't know why they scheduled uh, to go play Alabama down there. They got to go to Michigan. They have to go to Oregon. They have to go to Indiana, at Minnesota to end the season. I mean, Luke Fickle, it's been fickle, I guess, really you could say, to how it's been there at Wisconsin. He like tried to go away from your traditional ground and pound Badger football, trying to spread things out a little bit. It seems like they're going to rein that back in and really go with more traditional run heavy offense this season. But I'm looking at this schedule. I don't think they're getting to bowl eligibility in Madison.
Yeah, we're at moral victory season for
Sad.
the Badgers. Like it, if they somehow make it to a bowl game, that's a huge win for them. And really, I think that we're in a spot where it's like just if we can get through the season and not get completely embarrassed more than once, that's a win. Probably. I mean, it's that schedule is too much, and I don't think that the talent is there. Like it's I think that they made the right hire. Like
Yeah.
like if you had the time machine and everything, like this should be working better than it is. It's hard to really pinpoint, in my opinion, what exactly has gone wrong. I think, like you said, you kind of being overzealous in changing like the DNA and the philosophy of what a Wisconsin football team should look like. With the Phil Longo stuff and everything like that on offense, but gosh, it feels like they've been the victims of some bad luck, some tough schedules, and we unfortunately see that again this year. So they're going to have to get back to basics here. They're going to have to play a Badger level of defense and just be able to run the ball. I think they will be able to run the ball though. This kid Dylan Jones, I think, is pretty interesting. He was one of their higher rated running back recruits ever. I think second behind John Clay as far as like the 24/7 rankings are concerned. A kid from Maryland's backyard, so I don't know why Maryland didn't think to get that kid, but I digress. So keep an eye for him, but otherwise, I think we're looking at just a tough season. And if you're a Wisconsin fan, you just hope that you get to stay competitive in those tough games. I mean, they were competitive against Oregon last year for sure. That they kind of hang their hat on that. Probably just going to be more of the same in that sense this year.
Yeah, it's tough because I completely agree with you. I liked the Luke Fickle hire a lot when they brought him in, but it's not working out. Some of those decisions might be on him when it comes to how they kind of change that offense, but he brings in Jeff Grimes as the OC, should get back to that ground and pound style Wisconsin football. But I think it's going to be another tough year. I don't want to say hot seat or anything like that, but probably starting to get a little bit warm. And when we get to 2026, it's going to be show me time for Luke Fickle. Like you got to produce something on the football field here because it has just been rough. Back to back 7-6 seasons, and then they go 5-7 last year. I can very easily see that happening again. I'll pull up their schedule for us really quick just so everybody can see what a gauntlet that Wisconsin has to deal with this year. Um, at Alabama, as I was talking about. You got the Maryland game, then they have to go at Michigan, Iowa, and Ohio State both come to Madison, at Oregon. Washington's not going to be easy, at Indiana, Illinois, Minnesota. This thing is an absolute gauntlet.
Man, just enjoy those first 2 weeks where you're 2-0, because after that, I mean, it's just going to be, I mean, going to Alabama is just going to be so, so rough. That's going to be bad news bears. And then, I think Maryland could even I mean, they have Maryland's cast off quarterback right now
Right, Billy Edwards.
as their starting quarterback. So at least we think. If he starts more than 5 games, then things have really gone bad for this Wisconsin program. But yeah, just folks read them and weep when it comes to that schedule. That's, I mean, a run where you have to go like Michigan, Iowa, Oregon, and Ohio State. Like, forget about it.
It's tough. It's brutal. Okay, so that's going to do it for our real like in-depth team previews. We do have a couple other here that we still want to talk about. I know John's always got thoughts about his Terps up there in Maryland. UCLA, the Nico Iamaleava experience is going to be interesting, I think, this year. I haven't talked about Michigan State, who has just completely dropped off the map as a program, I feel like, and Purdue too. So any lingering thoughts when it comes to those schools? All their win totals are anywhere from 3.5 to 5.5.
Yeah, so the Nico experience at UCLA. I mean, UCLA needed a win so badly, like off the field, and I think at once you could say that Nico disappointed relative to expectations at Tennessee, but at the same time, he is a drastic improvement for this Bruins team, and he gives them and specifically that offense a breath of life. So consider me a little bit optimistic that UCLA is at least somewhat competitive this year with Nico at the helm. I think as far as Maryland goes, I am wearing my Maryland shirt. That's
There
where
it
I'm.
is.
Yeah, man, it's where I'm from. It's where most of my family went. So I follow them closely. They're tough to follow from the football perspective, but a lot of people are excited about this Malik Washington kid. He's the quarterback. I think that he's going to open the year as the starter. So going to be kind of thrown to the fire. The sort of tenor of a usual Maryland season is they go undefeated in September and then they get absolutely drubbed uncompetitively for the rest of their Big Ten schedule. So I think probably more of the same. I kind of drew this comparison to USC, where Maryland has a very good recruiting class coming in. They just need to kind of get over the finish line here and go through the season without like having all those recruits, kind of get second thoughts because of what's happening on the field. And then beyond that, Michigan State, Jonathan Smith, let's start to see, proof of concept here, because I think that, everyone thought that it was a good hire, but, grabbing him from Oregon State, everyone thought that he did a great job at Oregon State because he did. They got to like show a little something here. Aiden Childs is someone that, they have kind of like staked their reputation on at quarterback. Not really showed a lot just yet, so we'll have to see if he can get things going. People are excited about this backfield and Nick Marsh out wide as well. So I've got a light eye on Sparty this year, but I'm not expecting like I think if they get to bowl eligibility, it's a successful year for them and nothing more.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that schedule right now. No Ohio State or Oregon, but they play pretty much everybody else at USC, at Nebraska, at Indiana, at Iowa, at Minnesota. They do get Michigan and Penn State at home, but I don't like their chances in either one of those games for for Sparty this season. Okay, so we ended our ACC shows with a little no huddle, quick hits kind of thing. Let's do it again here for the Big Ten. So, John, I want your champion, your dark horse, your player of the year, coach of the year, and your biggest disappointment in the Big Ten. Are you ready?
Ready to do it.
All right,
All
let's
right.
do it. Your champion in the Big Ten in 2025.
All right, so hurry up offense here. We've got Big Ten Conference champion, Penn State, the dark horse. I think it's either Iowa or USC. I think the player of the year, it's got to be Jeremiah Smith. If I go off the board a little bit, I got Jaden Mayava of USC. If I'm talking coach of the year this year, I think it's Lincoln Riley. I think that he surprises some people. I think, it kind of tandems up with Jaden Mayava there with USC, maybe having a little bit of a better year than people expect. And my big disappointment, no surprise here, Oregon is my disappointment from the Big Ten.
Okay, so I'm going to give you my quick hits as well. My no huddle for the Big Ten. My champion. As much as I doubt Drew Aller, I do think Penn State's going to win this conference this year. I think it all sets up very nicely for them. I think Drew Aller's big mistake is going to come at some point in the college football playoff. My dark horse. Kind of going with your Lincoln Riley coach of the year kind of thing. I'm going USC. I just think the law of averages is going to play out here when it comes to the Trojans this year. I think this defense is going to keep improving. I love Danton Lynn as the defensive coordinator. He brought them from outside the top 100 in defensive S&P plus to inside the top 50. I think we get more improvement this season. And also Lincoln Riley is just too damn smart to not figure this thing out in Southern California. So I like USC as my dark horse. Player of the year, I think it's probably going to be Drew Aller. As much as I knock them. But you just look at how this award's handed out every single year. When it comes to the offensive side, anyway, Drew Aller's probably going to be it. If I had to go with something a little more off the board, I might go Luke Altmaier. I love everything that's going on there in Illinois with him. On the defensive side of the ball, give me Jacas in Illinois, who had 8 sacks last year. He's back for a loaded pass rush for Illinois there. Coach of the year, I'm going to go Brett Bielema. I'm buying the hype. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid with the Illini, as I've been talking about, as we've been talking about. A lot of buzz. There's going to be a lot of buzz, just like Coach Sig last year, who ended up winning the Coach of the Year. And finally, my biggest disappointment. I guess I could just ditto your take there with Oregon, but if I had to go a little more off the board, I'm gonna go Julian Sayin as the biggest disappointment in the
Ah.
Big Ten this year. So I think something might be a little up there. I think he's been a little, I don't want to quite say full on entitled, but I think there's something not quite right there with him. And it wouldn't surprise me if Ohio State is going a different direction in quarterback towards the end of this season and definitely in 2026.
They'll be missing Aaron Noland, who is cool and transferred to South Carolina, but he could have been the guy.
Could have been the guy. Could have been the guy. All right, so that's going to do it for our Big Ten preview. If you missed any of it, check out our YouTube page at College Football Tailgate. Hit that subscribe button if you would be so kind. It would mean the most to us. It doesn't cost you anything. We're still working on getting the podcast feed going, and we will let you know when that is out. You can follow us on Twitter at CFB Tailgate 25. You can follow us on TikTok at CFB Tailgate. We'll be posting tons of content there, and we'll be back later this week to talk about the Big 12.